Imagine waking up one morning and feeling perfectly fine on the outside. Your clothes still fit, your weight seems normal, and nothing feels out of place. But deep inside your abdomen, wrapped tightly around your liver, kidneys, pancreas, and intestines, there is a silent fire burning. Not the kind you can see, not the kind you can pinch. A fire made of visceral fat, an invisible internal fat that doesn't sit under your skin but coils itself around your organs like a quiet predator. And the cruelest part? Most people who carry dangerous levels of it have no idea it's even there. I want you to picture this. A man walks into a clinic for a routine checkup. He's not overweight, he doesn't feel unhealthy. But when the scan appears on the screen, the doctor pauses. His organs are suffocating. Thick layers of hidden fat he never saw, never felt, never suspected, are squeezing the life out of his metabolism. His liver is sluggish. His insulin levels are climbing. His inflammatory markers are on fire. He looks confused because he thought visceral fat was a problem only for people who look overweight. But visceral fat doesn't care about your appearance. It hides behind your ribs, beneath your muscles, between your organs, and it waits. That's what makes it so dangerous. Subcutaneous fat shows itself. Visceral fat masks itself. And here's the part that shocks most people. You can have a flat stomach and still be full of visceral fat. You can have a normal BMI and still be metabolically unhealthy. You can be exercising, eating salads, and drinking green smoothies and still be carrying a metabolic time bomb. This fat releases inflammatory chemicals directly into your bloodstream. It disrupts insulin signaling, it overwhelms the liver, it hijacks your hunger hormones. It doesn't just sit there. It attacks, it sabotages, it attacks slowly, quietly, consistently. Most people don't notice it until symptoms show up. A stubborn belly bulge that came out of nowhere, fatigue that won't go away, cravings that feel uncontrollable, mood dips, blood sugar swings, high blood pressure, a doctor saying your numbers don't look good. All of this traces back to one truth. Visceral fat is not passive storage. It is an active metabolic disruptor. But here's the moment everything changes. And this is where Pure Vitality MD's message becomes a turning point for thousands of people. Visceral fat is not invincible, it's not permanent, and it's not even difficult to burn. It responds faster than any other fat in the body. It melts quickly, it shifts rapidly. It is the first fat your body wants to use if you give it the right signal. The problem is not the fat. The problem is the environment we keep the body in. Eating all day, snacking between meals, forcing the body to constantly digest, constantly store, constantly hold on to energy. In that state, visceral fat cannot burn, it only grows. Now imagine flipping a switch inside your body, a biological trigger that stops the storage mode instantly and activates the burn mode immediately. A switch that tells your cells, we don't need to store any more energy. We need to start using what we've already kept. This switch is real. It is science-backed. It is the body's natural design. And it can be activated with one simple fasting hack. Pure Vitality MD calls it the first visceral fat melt trigger. Because nothing works as quickly, as safely, or as effectively to target this hidden fat. The moment you stop feeding your body constantly, something remarkable happens. Insulin drops, growth hormone rises, autophagy begins, and your body almost instantly turns toward the deeper fat reserves, the fat closest to the organs, the fat that endangers your life the most. Within hours, not days, your system begins accessing that visceral fat, pulling from it, breaking it down, using it for energy and reducing the inflammation it creates. It feels almost magical, but it isn't magic. It's biology. It's intelligence. It's your body doing what it was designed to do. You were not built to graze all day. You were built to cycle between feeding and fasting. You were built with an internal mechanism that repairs you only when digestion stops. You were built with a metabolic rhythm that clears out the most dangerous fat first. So when people try everything, diets, supplements, calorie counting, exhausting workouts, and still struggle with belly inflammation, insulin issues, or metabolic slowdown, it's not because their body is broken. It's because they never triggered the built-in healing system that removes visceral fat at its root. For years, people have been misled into thinking visceral fat is stubborn, that it's genetic, that it's just the way my body is. But that's not true. Visceral fat is not stubborn, it's simply misunderstood. It accumulates because the body is stuck in storage mode. It dissolves the moment the body is allowed to switch into healing mode. And the simplest, most powerful way to activate that switch is fasting, guided, structured, and science-aligned. Not extreme starvation, not dangerous deprivation, just a natural pause that reawakens the metabolic intelligence encoded in your biology. Right now, inside you, there are pathways waiting to be activated. Pathways that melt visceral fat faster than any diet, workout, or supplement. Pathways that switch on the moment insulin falls. Pathways that ignite the instant your body realizes, I'm not receiving food right now, I must use my internal reserves. And those internal reserves are visceral fat. This is the discovery moment I want you to feel right now. The very fat that threatens your organs is also the fat your body prefers to burn first. It is the easiest fat to unlock, the fastest fat to release, the most responsive fat in your entire body. You are not fighting against your biology, you are aligning with it. When you understand this, everything changes. The fear of fat turns into respect for your body's design. The frustration transforms into clarity. The struggle becomes strategy. And this is where the journey truly begins. Because the moment you learn how to activate this first visceral fat melt trigger, you stop feeling helpless and start feeling empowered. Visceral fat isn't your enemy. It's simply waiting for the right conditions to let go. And your body, your incredible, intelligent, brilliantly designed body, already knows exactly how to burn it. Visceral fat is one of those things most people never think about because they can't see it. It doesn't sit under the skin like the soft layer on your belly or hips. It doesn't jiggle. It doesn't announce itself. Instead, it hides deep inside your abdomen, wrapping itself around your organs the way a thick blanket might wrap around a fragile object. Except this blanket doesn't protect anything. It squeezes, it irritates, it quietly disrupts the very systems your body depends on to stay healthy. Think of your organs as hard-working employees inside a busy factory. Your liver filters toxins, your pancreas manages blood sugar, your intestines absorb nutrients, and your kidneys regulate fluids. They're meant to have space, freedom, and oxygen to do their jobs. But visceral fat crowds them like unwanted boxes stacked in every aisle. It presses into the liver, slowing its detox work. It surrounds the pancreas, making insulin less effective. It sits between loops of the intestine, generating inflammation that spills into the bloodstream. You don't feel this happening directly because visceral fat doesn't create surface-level discomfort. The trouble starts from the inside. Many people misread their own bodies because visceral fat disguises its presence behind familiar symptoms. They think they're just bloated, when in reality their organs are under pressure. They believe they're just aging, but aging doesn't automatically cause fatigue, poor digestion, or stubborn belly size. Visceral fat often does. They assume they're just stressed, not realizing that cortisol from stress actually helps visceral fat grow even faster. These everyday explanations make the real cause easy to overlook. Subcutaneous fat behaves differently. That's the pinchable fat under your skin, the storage your body uses for cushioning and long-term energy. It's visible, predictable, and far less dangerous. Visceral fat, on the other hand, is biologically active. It releases inflammatory molecules like a furnace releasing heat. It sends signals that confuse your hormones. It makes your cells resistant to insulin. It contributes to cravings, fatigue, and metabolic slowdown. It doesn't sit quietly, it participates. It interferes, it changes the way your whole body functions. But here's the surprising part. Visceral fat is also the easiest fat for the body to get rid of once the right conditions are created. When insulin drops, even slightly, your metabolism reaches for visceral fat first because it is so close to your organs and so metabolically active. It's like the body saying, let me remove the most dangerous stuff first. This is why fasting becomes such a powerful tool. When you stop eating for a period of time, insulin naturally falls. That drop is the signal the body has been waiting for. A green light to switch from storing to burning. And visceral fat, B, being the closest and most accessible energy source, begins to melt before anything else. The body is always trying to heal. It's constantly repairing, recalibrating, and clearing out what doesn't belong. But visceral fat stands in the way of this healing process, blocking metabolic pathways, inflaming the organs, and forcing the body to work harder for basic balance. The right fasting hack removes that block. It opens the door for healing to finally take place. It allows the body to return to the rhythm it's biologically designed for. And once that happens, the transformation begins from within. When fasting begins, something remarkable happens inside the body, something so old, so deeply encoded into human biology, that it feels less like a choice and more like returning to a forgotten rhythm. Most people imagine fasting as simply not eating, but the body experiences it as a shift in instructions, a quiet message that says, pause digestion, it's time to clean, repair, and use what's already stored. The first internal change is gentle and almost immediate. Insulin begins to fall. Insulin is the hormone that tells the body to store energy, and when food is constantly coming in, especially carbohydrates, insulin stays elevated. But the moment the eating stops, even for a few hours, the body senses that the storing mode is no longer necessary. When insulin drops, its opposite hormone steps onto the stage, glucagon. Glucagon is like the body's retrieval system, signaling the release of stored energy so the cells can continue working smoothly. As glucagon rises, another ancient process awakens, autophagy. It is as if tiny cleanup crews begin walking through your cells, gathering damaged proteins, clearing out old debris, and removing anything that no longer serves your health. You don't feel any of this consciously, but many people describe the sensation as a lightness, a clearer head, a quieter digestive system, a feeling of being internally uncluttered. Your body is not shutting down, it is reorganizing itself. During this transition, your system begins scanning for fuel, and it follows a very predictable sequence. Use the sugar first. The body burns through circulating glucose and the stored glycogen in the liver, but these reserves don't last long, usually only hours. Once the supply dips, the body does not panic, it remembers. For thousands of years, humans lived without constant access to food. We hunted, we gathered, we moved, we waited. Our biology learned to switch seamlessly from sugar burning to fat burning. This switch is not an emergency response, it is a design feature. As soon as sugar becomes scarce, the body's attention shifts to the most energy-dense and accessible internal fuel source, visceral fat. Because this fat sits close to the organs and is metabolically active, it becomes the first choice. It is like the body saying, let me use the fuel that's causing the most harm. Let me clear out the dangerous storage before anything else. The liver begins releasing stored fats, converting them into ketones, which the brain and muscles use efficiently. Far from feeling deprived, many people feel more stable, more focused, even more energized as this transition unfolds. This entire process is rooted in evolution. Early humans did not graze or snack all day. They ate when food was available and fasted in between, sometimes for long stretches. Their bodies became experts at shifting fuel sources. The liver developed sophisticated pathways to burn fat during these natural pauses. Today, those pathways are still there, waiting patiently beneath layers of modern eating habits. Every time you stop eating long enough for insulin to fall and glucagon to rise, you give your liver permission to open those pathways again, to dry and stored fat, especially the kind that threatens your health the most. The beauty of this internal shift is that it doesn't feel extreme or forced. It feels natural, like the body settling into a long-lost rhythm. And this rhythm is exactly what the first fasting hack taps into. Without revealing the method yet, the essence is this. It aligns with the body's ancient design. It triggers the sequence your metabolism already knows by heart. It gives your system the chance to do what it instinctively wants to do. Burn visceral fat first, repair damaged cells, and restore balance from within. The fasting hack is surprisingly simple. Create a daily window where your body is not receiving food, long enough for insulin to fall and fat burning to rise, but short enough that it feels natural, sustainable, and easy to repeat. It works because it respects your biology instead of fighting it. This balanced eating and resting rhythm, this gentle daily fasting window, is what signals your metabolism to unlock the deeper fat around your organs. Imagine your body the moment you begin this hack. You finish your last meal of the day, and without realizing it, your insulin starts drifting downward. There is no struggle, no force, no tension. Your digestive system begins to wind down, like a busy shop closing its doors for the night. As the hours pass, your insulin continues to drop, and something subtle but powerful happens. Your hunger stabilizes. The roller coaster of cravings caused by constant snacking begins to settle. Your blood sugar evens out. Your mind feels clearer. The body is preparing itself for metabolic switching. During this quiet stretch, your fasting window, glucagon rises in the background. This is the hormone that tells your body, use stored energy now. And because visceral fat is the most accessible and dangerous type of stored energy, it becomes the body's first target. Your liver starts pulling triglycerides from this hidden fat, breaking them down into ketones, which your brain loves as a clean, stable fuel source. You are no longer driven by sugar peaks and crashes. You are running on something steadier, deeper, more ancient. What makes this hack so effective is that it uses timing, not restriction. You're not depriving your body, you're giving it the quiet space it needs to heal. In this window, autophagy intensifies. Inflammation quiets, hormones recalibrate, the pressure around your organs begins to lessen as visceral fat releases its stored energy. Even a few hours of consistent fasting each day gives your system a chance to drain this internal fat, drop by drop, hour by hour. As the days pass, this rhythm becomes easier. Your hormonal flexibility improves. Ghrelin, your hunger hormone, learns your new schedule and stops sending cravings at random times. Leptin, your satiety hormone, begins working properly again, helping your brain feel satisfied with smaller portions. Cortisol, the stress hormone, begins to level out, reducing the signal that encourages visceral fat storage. You start to feel the difference not just in your stomach, but in your energy. Your mornings feel lighter. Your mind feels clearer. Digestion becomes smoother. You notice bloating fading, inflammation calming, and a subtle sense of internal space returning. This hack works because it aligns perfectly with your body's natural timing. Instead of overwhelming your system with constant digestion, you create a window where your metabolism can finally focus on burning the most harmful fat first. No harsh diets, no extreme fasting marathons, just a small shift in when you eat, not what you eat. Yet this simple shift triggers a cascade of healing processes that melt visceral fat faster than anything else. Take a moment to picture a few real people, ordinary individuals who struggled with issues they couldn't quite explain, until they gave their bodies the simple fasting window that finally unlocked the healing they'd been waiting for. There's Maria, a mother of two who kept complaining about stubborn belly bloating that made her look and feel uncomfortable. She tried probiotics, digestive teas, even eliminated foods one by one, thinking something she ate must be upsetting her stomach. But the real issue wasn't in her meals at all. It was the visceral fat pressing against her digestive organs. When she adopted the daily fasting window, her body immediately shifted gears. For the first time in years, her gut had space to settle. Her liver wasn't overloaded. Within days, she felt lighter. A week later, her bloating noticeably reduced. And by the end of the month, her waistline no longer felt tight and inflamed. She hadn't starved herself. She hadn't changed what she ate. She had simply allowed her body the quiet hours needed to burn the fat that was disrupting her from the inside. Then there's Jamal, someone whose inflammation markers were steadily rising with each routine blood test. His joints were stiff. His energy was low. His doctor suggested he might be heading toward insulin resistance. Jamal believed he just needed more supplements or a better workout routine. But what he really needed was to lower his insulin and let his body use the fat that was fueling the inflammation. After adopting the fasting hack, his mornings began to feel different. The stiffness lessened. His fasting blood sugar dropped. His CRP, the inflammation marker, started to come down. The visceral fat that had been pumping inflammatory chemicals into his bloodstream was finally being used as fuel. And because this is the fat the body wants NTS to burn first, the changes showed up quickly. And then there's Daniel, a man constantly tired no matter how much he slept. He would crash in the afternoons, rely on caffeine, and wake up already exhausted. His issue wasn't lack of sleep, it was lack of metabolic flexibility. His body was trapped in sugar-burning mode, never switching into fat burning. When he introduced the fasting window, that metabolic switch finally flipped. He noticed one morning he wasn't groggy. Another day he realized he hadn't crashed after lunch. By the second week, he felt a new steady energy, like his body had found a cleaner, more stable fuel source. That fuel source was his visceral fat. This is what happens when fasting is applied correctly. Visceral fat melts first, not last, because it is the most biologically active and harmful fat in the body. The body prioritizes burning it the same way it would prioritize removing debris from a doorway. It wants the system clear, efficient, and safe. As insulin falls, visceral fat becomes the easy target. As glucagon rises, the body chooses it immediately. And as autophagy activates, the internal inflammation caused by visceral fat begins to cool. Day by day, the healing becomes more noticeable. Waistlines shrink, energy steadies, hunger normalizes, thinking becomes clearer. People don't feel like they're forcing their bodies anymore. They feel like they're finally cooperating with them. And this is pure vitality, MD's message at its core. Your body was never broken. It just needed permission, a simple window of time, a pause, an opportunity for the ancient healing mechanisms buried within you to wake up, take the lead, and restore you from the inside out. What makes this fasting hack so powerful is that it isn't a trend, a shortcut, or a modern experiment. It's a return to the way the human body has always worked. Long before grocery stores, refrigerators, or constant snacking, our ancestors lived in natural rhythms of eating and waiting, feeding and fasting. Their bodies adapted to these cycles so deeply that the pattern became part of our biology. And today, even in a world overflowing with food, those ancient rhythms still shape how our metabolism responds, repairs, and restores. This is why the hack feels so natural. It's not forcing anything. It's simply allowing the body to do what it was designed to do. Visceral fat melts not because you fight it, not because you punish yourself, and not because you chase extreme diets. It melts because fasting gives your hormonal system a clear signal there is no incoming food. So use the stored energy first, and the body, with its quiet intelligence, chooses the most harmful and metabolically active fat, visceral fat. This is the wisdom built into your design. Your body knows what to burn. It knows what to protect. It knows what to release when given the chance. When you create this daily pause, you allow insulin to drop, inflammation to cool, and the liver to finally drain the fat that has been choking your organs from the inside. This isn't discipline, it's alignment, it's cooperation, it's stepping out of the way so your biology can take over. And as the organs free themselves, you feel the difference everywhere. Lighter digestion, clearer thinking, calmer hunger, steadier energy. You're not pushing your body uphill anymore, you're letting it move in the direction it naturally wants to go. The beauty is that modern science now confirms what human history has always shown. Our bodies thrive when they're not constantly digesting. The healing pathways switch on when food isn't present. The fat-burning systems activate when insulin rests. These are not theories, they're universal biological truths. And this is why the fasting hack works for so many people, regardless of age, background, or metabolism. You are working with your design, not against it. As you begin to trust this process, something shifts. You stop fearing food and you stop fearing fat. You realize the body isn't betraying you. It's waiting for your partnership. You begin to see that the stubbornness you once blamed on genetics or age was actually a simple block in the system, a block you now know how to remove. And when that block lifts, healing doesn't trickle in slowly, it flows. This is the heart of the message, pure vitality. MD wants you to feel your body is extraordinary, it is intelligent, it is responsive, and it is always trying to heal you. The only thing it needs is space, the space to burn, to repair, to restore. Fasting gives it that space, not by adding more rules, more stress, more pressure, but by removing what interrupts the wisdom already inside you. When you allow your biology to lead, visceral fat doesn't stand a chance. It melts because it's meant to. It melts because you finally stop feeding the cycle that made it grow. And in that simple pause, that gentle window of time, you reclaim your health, one breath, 1 hour, 1 day at a time.